3 days ago, I found sedatives hidden in my kitchen cabinet. Pills that weren't mine. Pills that weren't prescribed. Pills that my daughter planned to use. To make me sign away everything I'd ever built. My name is George. I'm 58 years old. And I'm about to tell you how the child I raised became the predator who hunted me, while living under my own roof. If you'd asked me 6 months ago to describe my daughter, I would have painted you a picture of perfection. Lisa, 28 years old, beautiful, successful, married to Derek, a financial advisor who seemed to have his life together. They'd been living with me for 8 months, ever since my wife Margaret died from cancer. Dad, you shouldn't be alone in this big house, Lisa had said, her eyes wet with tears at the funeral. Let us move in, just for a while, until you're back on your feet. I'd been grateful, genuinely grateful. The house felt like a mausoleum after Margaret passed. Every room echoed with her absence. Every meal was a reminder that I was eating alone. When Lisa and Derek arrived with their suitcases and warm smiles, it felt like life was returning to the empty hallways. For the first few months, everything seemed normal. Better than normal, actually. Lisa cooked the meals Margaret used to make. She organized the house the way her mother had. Derek helped with repairs I'd been putting off. They paid rent, though I'd told them it wasn't necessary. They were respectful, helpful, present. I thought I was lucky. I thought I had the kind of daughter every parent dreams of having. I was wrong about everything. The first crack in the facade appeared 3 weeks ago. I'd come home early from the hardware store and found Lisa in my home office. She was sitting at my desk, going through the drawer where I kept important documents, property deeds, insurance policies, investment statements, the will Margaret and I had drafted years ago. When she heard me, she didn't jump or look guilty. She simply turned, smiled, that perfect smile, and said, "Dad, I was looking for stamps. Did you move them?" I knew where the stamps were. They'd always been in the kitchen drawer, the same drawer they'd been in for 20 years. But I said nothing. I just nodded and pointed her in the right direction. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the way she'd looked at those documents, the casual confidence in her voice when she lied about the stamps. It reminded me of something Margaret used to say about people. "George," she'd whispered during our late-night conversations, "the most dangerous lies are the ones told with a smile." I was beginning to understand what she meant. After the office incident, I started paying attention, really paying attention. And once you start looking, you see things you'd been blind to before. Lisa had begun controlling small aspects of my life, subtle things. She'd started preparing my morning coffee exactly the way I liked it, but she always handed it to me already made. She'd taken over picking up my prescriptions from the pharmacy, insisting it was no trouble since she passed it on her way to work. She'd organized my pill organizer every Sunday evening, lining up my blood pressure medication, my cholesterol pills, my vitamin supplements in neat little rows. At first, I'd appreciated the help. I'd thought she was being a good daughter, taking care of her aging father the way he'd taken care of her. But now, I wondered why she never let me make my own coffee anymore. I wondered why she always insisted on being the one to pick up my medications. I wondered why she'd suddenly become so interested in my daily routine, my habits, my schedule. Derek had changed too. He used to talk to me about sports, about the stock market, about plans for weekend projects around the house. But lately, his conversations had shifted. He'd ask questions about my business, about the properties I owned, about my retirement accounts and investment portfolios. "Just curious, George," he'd say with that easy smile of his. "I'm in finance, you know, always interested in how successful people structure their assets. Maybe I could give you some advice, help you optimize your portfolio." I'd built a successful contracting business from nothing. I'd invested wisely for 30 years. I owned 4 rental properties in addition to my home. I had retirement accounts worth over $2 million. And Derek knew all of this. Because I'd trusted him. Because I'd welcomed him into my family. Because I'd shared details of my financial life the way you do with people you consider your own. One evening, I'd overheard them talking in their bedroom. The door was cracked open, and their voices carried down the hallway. "We need to move faster," Derek had said. "He's healthier than we thought. This could take years." "I know," Lisa replied. "I'm working on it." I'd stood in that hallway, frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. Working on what? 3 days ago, I found the pills. I'd been looking for aspirin in the kitchen cabinet, where we kept the first aid supplies and over-the-counter medications. A simple headache, a simple search. But when I moved aside the bottle of Tylenol, I saw it. A prescription bottle, labeled for Lisa Peterson. The medication name was lorazepam, a sedative, prescribed by Dr. Richard Rashid, a physician I'd never heard of. The bottle was nearly full, 30 pills. But here's what made my blood run cold. The prescription date was from 2 months ago. If Lisa had been taking these as prescribed, the bottle would be nearly empty. She hadn't been taking them. She'd been saving them. I stood there in my kitchen, the bottle trembling in my hand, as the pieces began clicking into place. The coffee she made every morning, the pills she organized every week, the way she'd ask if I was tired, if I wanted to take a nap, if I needed to rest. And I remembered something else, something I'd dismissed at the time as nothing. 2 weeks ago, I'd felt unusually drowsy after breakfast. So drowsy I'd gone back to bed at 10 in the morning, which I never do. I'd slept until 3 in the afternoon. When I woke up, Lisa had seemed pleased. "You needed that rest, Dad," she'd said. "You've been pushing yourself too hard." But I hadn't been pushing myself hard. I'd been living my normal life, and I never napped. Not since I was a child. Unless I'd been drugged. I put the bottle back exactly where I'd found it. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. I took my aspirin. I walked to the living room. I sat in Margaret's favorite chair, and I tried to think. My daughter, my beautiful, successful, perfect daughter, the child I'd raised, the girl I'd taught to ride a bike, helped with homework, walked down the aisle at her wedding. That daughter was planning something. Something that involved sedating me. Something that involved Derek's questions about my assets. Something that required me to be incapacitated. I needed to know more. I needed proof. I needed to understand the full scope of what they were planning. And I knew exactly how to get it. That night, I announced I was taking a trip. "I'm going to visit your grandmother this weekend," I said at dinner, keeping my voice casual. "I haven't seen Mom since the funeral, and she's been asking when I'll come up. I thought I'd spend Friday through Sunday with her." Lisa's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to notice. "That's wonderful, Dad," she said, recovering quickly. "Grandma will love that. Do you want me to help you pack?" No, I can manage. Just a weekend bag." Derek leaned back in his chair. "That's a good idea, George. You could use a change of scenery. How far is the drive?" "About 2 hours. Not bad. I'll leave Friday morning, come back Sunday afternoon." I watched them exchange a glance. Quick, almost imperceptible, but I saw it. And I saw the smallest smile touch Lisa's lips before she caught herself. They thought they had a window. 3 days, 72 hours with me gone, time to do whatever they'd been planning. But I wasn't going anywhere. My mother Helen lived in a senior community 2 hours north. I'd call her tomorrow and explain the situation. She'd understand. She'd always been sharp as a tack, even at 82. She'd cover for me if Lisa called to check. No, I was going to pack my bag. I was going to load up my car. I was going to drive away like I was making the trip. And then I was going to park 3 blocks away and watch my house. I had a friend who might help. Frank, my neighbor from across the street, 70 years old, retired detective, widower like me. We'd become close over the past year, bonding over morning coffee and our shared experience of loss. Frank was sharp, observant, and he'd always said there was something about Derek that bothered him. "Can't put my finger on it," Frank had said once, "but that boy's smile doesn't reach his eyes." Tomorrow, I'd talk to Frank. I'd set up my surveillance. I'd prepare to document everything. Because if my daughter and son-in-law were planning to drug me, to steal from me, to do whatever it was they were plotting, I needed evidence, and I needed to catch them in the act. Friday morning arrived cold and clear. I packed my bag in full view of Lisa, making sure she saw me put in clothes for 3 days. I loaded the car while Derek watched from the porch, coffee cup in hand. "Drive safe, George," he called out. "Give your mother our love." "Will do," I replied, forcing a smile. Lisa came out to hug me goodbye. She held on a little longer than usual. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. "I love you, Dad," she said. And here's the thing that broke my heart. I think she meant it. I think some part of her still loved me. But whatever she and Derek were planning, it was stronger than that love. Greed has a way of drowning out everything else, even the bond between parent and child. "I love you too, sweetheart," I said. Then I got in my car and drove away. I circled the neighborhood twice to make sure I wasn't being followed. Then I parked 3 blocks over in the grocery store lot where my car would blend in with dozens of others. I grabbed the small backpack I'd prepared, walked back through the alley, and knocked on Frank's door. He opened it immediately. He'd been waiting. "Come in," he said, ushering me inside. Frank's house was the mirror image of mine, which meant his upstairs guest bedroom had a perfect view of my front door and driveway. He'd already set up a pair of binoculars on a tripod by the window. His old police scanner sat on the nightstand. A notepad and pen waited on the desk. "I've been watching them since you left," Frank said. "Derek went out 20 minutes ago. Came back with grocery bags. Lisa's car is still in the driveway." I moved to the window and looked across the street at my house. My home, the place where I'd raised my daughter, where Margaret and I had built our life together. It looked peaceful, normal, like any other house on any other Friday morning. But inside those walls, something dark was unfolding. "Thank you for this," I said to Frank. He put a hand on my shoulder. "In my 30 years on the force, I learned to trust my gut. And my gut says, you're right to be worried. Whatever's happening in that house, we'll find out together." We settled in to wait. The first few hours were quiet, too quiet. Derek's car left at noon, came back 30 minutes later. Lisa moved past windows occasionally, just normal household activity. Nothing suspicious, nothing alarming. I was beginning to wonder if I'd imagined everything. Then, at 3 in the afternoon, a car I didn't recognize pulled into my driveway. "You expecting anyone?" Frank asked, adjusting the binoculars. "No." A man got out. 50s, expensive suit, leather briefcase. He walked to my front door with the confidence of someone who belonged there. Lisa answered before he could knock, like she'd been watching for him. They disappeared inside. Frank wrote down the license plate number. "I'll run this later. See who we're dealing with." 20 minutes passed. Then the man emerged, this time carrying papers. Lisa walked him to his car. They shook hands. He drove away. "Did you see what he was carrying?" I asked. "Documents. Maybe a contract. Hard to tell from here." My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. "Hope you're having a good time with Grandma. Love you, Dad." I stared at that message. She thought I was 2 hours away. She thought she was safe to conduct whatever business she'd just conducted. She thought I was oblivious. I texted back. "Arrived safe. Mom says hi. Love you too." Every word felt like broken glass in my throat. At 5 o'clock, Derek returned. This time, he wasn't alone. A woman got out of the passenger seat. 40s, professional clothes, another briefcase. "This is organized," Frank muttered. "This isn't amateur hour. They've got professionals involved." The woman stayed for an hour. When she left, she was smiling. By 6 o'clock, I documented 4 different visitors to my house. 4 different people Lisa and Derek had invited into my home while they thought I was gone. 4 different professionals with briefcases and documents and business to conduct. "What are they doing?" I whispered. Frank's face was grim. "In my experience, when you see this many suits coming and going, they're either planning a major real estate deal or they're setting up a conservatorship." The word hit me like a physical blow. Conservatorship. That's when the court declares you incompetent. That's when they assign someone else to control your assets, your property, your life. That's when they take everything. If you're still watching, please hit that subscribe button, because what I discovered next changed everything I thought I knew about the people I'd trusted most. And you'll want to see how this unfolds. At 11:30 that night, I was fighting to stay awake. Frank had made coffee twice already. We'd been watching for almost 12 hours. The house had been dark for the past 2 hours. Lisa and Derek's bedroom light had gone off at 9:30. I was about to suggest we call it a night when Frank grabbed my arm. "George, look." A figure was walking up my driveway, moving slowly, carefully, using the shadows. It was too dark to make out features, but the shape was wrong for Derek. Too small, too slight. The figure walked right up to my front door and knocked. 3 times. Deliberate. 30 seconds later, the porch light came on. Derek opened the door. He'd been awake, waiting. The figure stepped into the light. It was a woman, maybe 60. Gray hair pulled back, long coat despite the warm evening. She carried a large bag, the kind doctors use for house calls. "Oh no," Frank breathed. "Oh, George, no." She went inside. The door closed. Frank was already moving, grabbing his old camera with the telephoto lens. "We need to document this. We need proof." "Proof of what? Who is that?" "If she's who I think she is, she's the final piece they needed. The one thing that makes this whole plan legal." We watched the upstairs window. Light appeared in the guest bedroom, the room where Lisa and Derek slept. Shadows moved across the curtains. 3 people, talking, one of them gesturing with what looked like documents. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. When the woman emerged, Derek walked her to the driveway. They shook hands. He passed her an envelope. She tucked it in her coat and drove away. Frank had photographed everything. The woman's arrival, her face in the porch light, the envelope, her license plate. "I'll run both plates first thing tomorrow," he said. "But I'll tell you right now what we're looking at. That was a doctor making a house call, and that envelope? That was cash payment for services rendered. Services that probably involved signing medical documents declaring you mentally incompetent." My hands had gone numb. "They're building a file," Frank continued, his voice gentle but firm. "Medical evaluations, witness statements, financial assessments, everything they need to convince a judge that you can't manage your own affairs, that you need a conservator." "Lisa," I whispered. "Lisa," he confirmed. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in Frank's guest room, watching the sun come up over my house, trying to reconcile the daughter I'd raised with the woman who was systematically planning to steal my life. At 7 in the morning, my phone rang. "Lisa." "Good morning, Dad. How's Grandma? Did you sleep well?" Her voice was bright and cheerful. The perfect loving daughter checking on her father. "Morning, sweetheart." "Yes, Mom's doing great. We stayed up late talking, so I'm a bit tired." "Well, don't overdo it. Make sure you rest. You know how you get when you don't sleep enough." There it was, the subtle suggestion, the planted seed. George doesn't sleep well. George gets confused when he's tired. George needs someone to take care of him. I will. "What are your plans today?" "Oh, just errands. Cleaning. Maybe Derek and I will catch a movie. Nothing exciting. You enjoy your time with Grandma. We'll see you tomorrow." After we hung up, I looked at Frank. "She's good," he said. "I'll give her that. She's very good." Frank had already run the license plates. The first car belonged to Jeffrey Haynes, an attorney specializing in elder law and conservatorships. The second belonged to a paralegal from the same firm. The third and fourth were also connected to the legal office. The woman who'd arrived at midnight was Dr. Sarah Brennan, a psychiatrist. According to Frank's research, she'd been disciplined twice by the state medical board for questionable evaluations. Both times involved cases where family members had paid her to declare elderly relatives incompetent. "She's a hired gun," Frank explained. "She'll sign whatever medical evaluation they need, probably already has, based on conversations with Lisa. They'll claim you're showing signs of dementia, memory loss, confusion, inability to manage finances, and they'll have a doctor's signature to back it up. But I'm not incompetent. Doesn't matter. By the time you get your day in court to prove otherwise, they'll have temporary conservatorship. And once they control your accounts, they can drain them before you ever get a hearing. By the time the truth comes out, your money will be gone. Transferred to offshore accounts, dissolved into cash, disappeared. I felt sick. We need more evidence, Frank said. We need recordings. We need them on tape discussing the plan. We need proof that this is fraud. How? Frank smiled. A hard, cold smile. We're going to bug your house. Sunday afternoon, I drove home as planned. I'd coordinated everything with Frank. He'd entered my house Saturday night, using the spare key I'd given him years ago. He'd planted 3 small recording devices. One in the living room, one in the kitchen, one in the hallway outside the guest bedroom. The devices were voice-activated, professional grade, the kind Frank had used in undercover operations decades ago. They'd run for 72 hours before needing new batteries. When I pulled into my driveway at 3 o'clock, Lisa came running out to greet me. "Dad, how was Grandma?" She hugged me tight. I hugged her back and felt nothing but emptiness. "She's doing well. Sent her love. Made me promise to visit again soon." Derek appeared on the porch. "Good trip?" "Very good. Restful." I unpacked slowly. I chatted about my mother's health, her new medication routine, the friends she'd made at the senior community. All lies, all necessary, all designed to make them think their plan was still secret. That night at dinner, I waited, and they delivered. "Dad," Lisa said carefully, "Derek and I have been talking. We're worried about you." "Worried? Why?" "You're getting older. This house is too big. You're alone most of the day, we think. Maybe it's time to consider some changes." "What kind of changes?" Derek leaned forward. His voice was kind and reasonable. "We think you should consider signing power of attorney over to Lisa, just as a safety measure. So if anything happens, if you get sick or have an emergency, she can handle your finances, pay bills, make medical decisions. It's what responsible people do as they age." I let the silence stretch. Let them think I was considering it. "I'm only 58, I said finally. "I'm healthy. I don't think I need that yet." Lisa's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. "Of course not right away. Just something to think about. We love you, Dad. We want to make sure you're protected." Protected. That word. That beautiful, terrible word. It's what predators always say when they're circling their prey. Later that night, I lay in my bed and listened to the house settle around me. Somewhere, in the darkness, 3 recording devices were capturing every word, every whispered conversation, every moment of truth. I just had to wait for Lisa and Derek to incriminate themselves. And I had a feeling I wouldn't have to wait long. It took 2 days. 2 days of playing the oblivious father. 2 days of accepting Lisa's coffee, eating her meals, letting her organize my pills. 2 days of watching Derek ask questions about my properties, my investments, my retirement plans. 2 days of dying inside. Then, on Tuesday night, I heard them. I was in my bedroom. They thought I was asleep, but I was sitting in the dark, holding the small receiver Frank had given me, the one connected to the bugs in my house. Their voices came through crystal clear. They were in the kitchen, drinking wine, celebrating something. "Haynes says we can file next week," Derek said. "Brennan's evaluation is complete. She's declaring him in the early stages of dementia, memory issues, confusion, inability to manage complex financial decisions." "What about witnesses?" Lisa asked. "We've got 3 neighbors who'll testify they've seen concerning behavior. Haynes coached them on what to say. The pharmacy will confirm medication mix-ups. Your doctor friend will testify about missed appointments." Lisa laughed. Actually laughed. "It's almost too easy. He trusts me completely." "Your father's a good man," Derek said. "That's his weakness. Good people can't imagine someone they love would hurt them. It makes them vulnerable. Once we have conservatorship, how long before we can access the accounts?" "Immediately. Haynes says conservators have full authority. We can sell properties, liquidate investments, transfer funds, all perfectly legal. We'll take $2 million in the first 6 months, By the time anyone questions anything, the money will be cleaned through the offshore accounts I've set up. And Dad? There was a pause. A long, terrible pause. We'll move him to memory care, Derek said. One of those facilities that specializes in dementia patients. He'll be comfortable, taken care of, and he'll be somewhere he can't cause problems or ask questions. He'll fight this, Lisa said. Her voice had changed. Quieter, less certain. Of course he will. They all fight at first. But once the court rules, once the conservatorship is in place, it doesn't matter. He'll have no legal standing, no access to his own money, no ability to hire lawyers or defend himself. He'll be neutralized. I was crying, silent tears running down my face in the darkness of my bedroom, listening to my daughter discuss imprisoning me like I was a problem to be solved, and beasticle to be removed. Sometimes I feel guilty, Lisa whispered. Don't, Derek said firmly. He's had a good life. He made good money. Now it's our turn. We've got student loans, credit card debt, a future to build. This money, it's our inheritance anyway. We're just accessing it early. I heard glasses clink. To us, Derek said. To us, Lisa echoed. I had everything I needed. If you think you know how this story ends, you don't. What I did next wasn't revenge. It was survival. And it required me to become someone I never thought I could be. Stay with me. Wednesday morning, I called in sick to the volunteer work I'd been doing at the community center. Lisa seemed pleased. You should rest, Dad. You've been looking tired. I rested, all right. I rested in Frank's living room while we planned. Frank had transferred all the recordings to his computer. We'd listened to everything 3 times. We had hours of conversations. Hours of Derek and Lisa discussing their plan in detail. The fake medical evaluations. The bribed witnesses. The timeline for taking my assets. Their plans to institutionalize me. All of it recorded. All of it admissible in court. We need a lawyer, Frank said. Not just any lawyer. Someone who specializes in elder fraud. Someone tough. He made a call to an old friend from his police days. Got a name. Rebecca Chen, 52 years old. Senior partner at Chen & Associates. She'd built her career destroying conservatorship fraud cases. She'd put 6 attorneys in prison for elder abuse. She didn't lose. We met with her that afternoon at her office downtown. Frank came with me. I brought the recordings, the photographs, the license plates, everything. Rebecca listened to the recordings once. Just once. When Derek's voice described neutralizing me by putting me in memory care, her expression turned to stone. Mr. Peterson, she said when the recordings ended, your daughter and son-in-law have committed multiple felonies, conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft by deception, elder abuse, bribery of medical professionals. And that's just what I can identify from the first listen. Can we stop them? Stop them? Mr. Peterson, we're going to destroy them. Legally, completely, and we're going to make sure they never do this to anyone else. She outlined a plan. A careful, strategic plan. First, we document everything they did from this point forward. Every suspicious action, every meeting, every conversation. Second, we'd investigate Dr. Brennan and Attorney Haynes. Rebecca had contacts at the State Medical Board and the Bar Association. If they'd done this before, there would be records. Third, we'd prepare a counterfiling, a lawsuit against all parties involved. We'd seek criminal charges. We'd pursue every legal avenue available. But, Rebecca warned, we don't move until we have everything. If we strike too early, they'll destroy evidence. They'll disappear. We need them to commit fully to the fraud. We need them to file the conservatorship petition. And then, we spring the trap. How long? I asked. Based on what they said? Less than a week. I had less than a week before my daughter tried to legally steal my life. Rebecca worked fast. Within 48 hours, she'd uncovered a pattern. Dr. Sarah Brennan had signed questionable competency evaluations in 17 cases over the past 5 years. In 12 of those cases, the elderly person had been placed under conservatorship within weeks. In 9 of those cases, the conservator had been a family member who'd subsequently drained the estate. Dr. Brennan had received payment in every single case. Cash payments. Unreported to the IRS. Undocumented in official records. She's running a side business, Rebecca explained. She provides medical cover for families who want to steal from their elderly relatives. She's not just unethical, she's criminal. Attorney Jeffrey Haynes was worse. He'd specialized in conservatorships for 8 years. He'd filed over 60 petitions. But when Rebecca dug into the outcomes, a pattern emerged. In 40 of those cases, the conservator had liquidated substantial assets within the first year. In 25 cases, the elderly person had died within 3 years of the conservatorship being established. That death rate is statistically impossible, Rebecca said grimly, unless people in his conservatorships are being neglected, or worse. She'd contacted the State Bar Association. They'd been building a case against Haynes for 2 years, but they'd lacked concrete evidence of fraud. Our recordings would give them everything they needed. Meanwhile, Frank had been doing his own investigation. He'd talked to the neighbors Derek claimed would testify to my incompetence. 2 of them had no idea what he was talking about. The third, Mrs. Henderson from 3 doors down, admitted Derek had offered her $500 to sign a statement saying she'd seen me looking confused. I thought it was strange, she told Frank. But Derek made it sound like it was for George's own good, like you needed help, but were too proud to ask for it. Frank had gotten her to put that conversation in writing. Signed, notarized, ready for court. The pharmacy where Lisa picked up my medications had records showing no mix-ups, no issues, no problems with my prescriptions. Lisa had fabricated that entire narrative. And Dr. Rashid, the physician who'd prescribed the lorazepam to Lisa, he had no record of ever seeing her as a patient. The prescription was fraudulent, probably written by someone in Haynes' network. Every piece of their plan was falling apart under scrutiny. Every lie was being exposed. Every fraudulent document was being cataloged. They've done this before, Rebecca said. Not to you specifically, but this system they've built. The corrupt doctor, the corrupt lawyer, the bribed witnesses. It's too smooth, too organized. Derek and Lisa aren't amateurs who got greedy. They're experienced con artists who targeted you specifically. Why me? Rebecca's expression softened. Because you were vulnerable, widowed, wealthy, and you loved your daughter. That made you the perfect mark. I wanted to confront them. Every fiber of my being screamed to walk into that house and demand answers. To ask Lisa how she could do this. To ask Derek who he really was. To throw them out and change the locks and be done with it. But Rebecca stopped me. The moment you confront them, they'll know you're aware. They'll destroy evidence. They'll disappear. Derek probably has exit plans already in place. Fake identities. Money hidden. If he's done this before, and I believe he has, he knows how to vanish. So I waited. I went to work. I came home. I drank the coffee Lisa made. I pretended to be tired when she suggested I nap. I played the role of the oblivious father while my heart shattered into smaller pieces every day. And they moved forward with their plan. Friday afternoon, Lisa brought up the power of attorney again. More insistently this time. Dad, Derek and I really think you should sign these documents. It's just a formality. Just to protect you. She'd brought papers home. Official-looking forms. I glanced at them and felt my stomach turn. They weren't simple power of attorney forms. They were comprehensive documents that would give Lisa control over every aspect of my life. Medical decisions, financial decisions, property sales, investment management, everything. I need to read these carefully, I said. Maybe have a lawyer look at them. Derek's smile never wavered. Of course. Take your time. But honestly, George, lawyers just complicate simple things. This is standard stuff. Every responsible family does this. I'd still like my lawyer to review them. Lisa's expression tightened. Just for a second. You don't trust us? The question hung in the air. A loaded gun pointed at my heart. Of course I trust you, I lied. I just want to make sure everything's done properly." That night, I heard them arguing. The voices were muffled, but the tone was clear. Frustrated, angry. Their timeline was being disrupted. "He's stalling," Derek hissed. "We need to move to Plan B." "What's Plan B?" Lisa asked. "The emergency petition. We file Monday. Claim he's had a sudden decline. Claim he's a danger to himself. Get an emergency hearing and push through the conservatorship before he can mount a defense." I texted Rebecca immediately. "They're filing Monday. We need to move." Her response came back in seconds. "Already ahead of you. We file tomorrow." Saturday morning, Rebecca Chen walked into the courthouse and filed a lawsuit that would change everything. Peterson v. Peterson, Haynes, Brennan, et al. The complaint was 93 pages long. It detailed every conversation we'd recorded, every fraudulent document, every bribed witness, every piece of the conspiracy. It named Lisa as primary defendant, Derek as co-conspirator, Jeffrey Haynes as facilitator, Dr. Sarah Brennan as co-conspirator, and it named 6 other individuals who'd participated in the fraud. But Rebecca didn't just file a civil lawsuit. She filed criminal complaints with the district attorney. She filed ethics complaints with the State Bar Association and the medical board. She contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, and then she called a press conference. By noon, every major news outlet in the city was running the story. Daughter and son-in-law accused of elaborate conservatorship fraud. The recordings were partially released to the media, with Derek's voice clearly discussing plans to neutralize me by putting me in memory care. By 2 o'clock, Jeffrey Haynes had been escorted out of his office by state investigators. His files were being seized. His clients were being contacted. His law license was being suspended pending investigation. By 4 o'clock, Dr. Sarah Brennan's medical license had been suspended. State Medical Board investigators were reviewing every competency evaluation she'd signed in the past 10 years. By 6 o'clock, Derek and Lisa knew their plan had imploded. I was at Frank's house when Lisa called. My phone rang 12 times in a row. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. "Dad, where are you? Please call me. Dad, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Dad, please, we need to talk. Dad, I love you. Please, just talk to me." Each message was a knife. Each word was a reminder of the daughter I'd lost. Because the Lisa who I'd raised, who I'd loved, who I'd trusted, she was gone. Maybe she'd never existed at all. Derek tried a different approach. His messages were angry. "This is insane, George. You're making a huge mistake. We were trying to help you. This is how you repay us? You'll regret this. We'll fight this. You have no idea what you've started." That last message made me laugh. A dark, bitter laugh. No idea what I'd started? I knew exactly what I'd started. I'd started a war to save my life. And I was going to win. Rebecca called at 7 o'clock. "They've lawyered up, both of them, but it doesn't matter. We have them on tape. We have documentation. We have witnesses. This case is airtight. What happens now? Now we watch them fall apart. I know some of you are wondering if I went too far. If family is worth fighting for, even when they betray you. Let me tell you about the next 72 hours. And you can decide for yourself if I made the right choice." Sunday morning, Derek disappeared. Lisa called me at 6 a.m. She was crying, actually crying. "Dad, Derek's gone. He left sometime in the night. Took his clothes, his laptop, his passport. He's just gone." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Did he leave a note? No, nothing. His phone goes straight to voicemail. "Dad, I don't understand what's happening. Why did you sue us? Why are you doing this?" The audacity of that question took my breath away. "Lisa, I heard everything. The recordings, the plan to drug me, the fake medical evaluations, the plan to put me in memory care and steal everything I've worked for. I heard all of it. Silence, long and terrible. Dad, you don't understand. It wasn't like that. Derek, he convinced me this was the right thing to do. He said you were getting worse, that you needed help. I was just trying to protect you. By drugging me? By bribing witnesses? By hiring a corrupt doctor to declare me incompetent? I didn't. Her voice broke. Please, Dad. Please. Can we just talk? Face to face? I can explain everything. You can explain it to a judge, Lisa. You can explain it under oath. You can explain it to the criminal investigators who are building a case against you. Criminal? Dad. No. This is a misunderstanding. A civil matter at most. You can't seriously think. You committed fraud, Lisa. Multiple felonies. You conspired to steal from me. You falsified medical records. You bribed witnesses. These aren't misunderstandings. These are crimes. I heard her breathing. Rapid. Panicked. Derek made me do it, she whispered. I'll testify against him. I'll tell them everything. Please, Dad, I'm your daughter. I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still your daughter. And there it was. The final play. Blame Derek. Play the victim. Beg for mercy. You're not my daughter anymore, I said quietly. My daughter died when you decided my money was more valuable than my life. Whoever you are now, I don't know you. I hung up. Frank put a hand on my shoulder. That was hard. That was necessary. Because here's what I'd learned. Love can't exist without trust. And once trust is broken this completely, this deliberately, this maliciously, there's no going back. Lisa had made her choice. Now she had to live with it. Monday brought revelations that made me sick. Rebecca called with news from the FBI investigation. Derek wasn't Derek Peterson. His real name was Derek Callahan. And he'd done this before, 3 times. In Phoenix, he'd married a woman whose father owned a chain of auto repair shops. Within 2 years, the father had been declared incompetent. The shops had been sold. The money had disappeared. Derek had divorced and vanished. In Denver, he'd married a woman whose mother had a substantial retirement portfolio. Same pattern. Conservatorship. Asset liquidation. Disappearance. In Atlanta, he'd married a woman whose uncle had commercial real estate holdings. The uncle had died under suspicious circumstances 6 months after Derek got conservatorship. The death was ruled natural causes, but the timing was questionable. He's a professional, Rebecca explained. He targets women with wealthy elderly relatives. He marries in. He builds trust. He establishes himself in the family. Then he executes the con. How did he find them? Online mostly. Dating sites, social media. He looks for recently divorced women. Women with family money. Women posting about caring for aging parents. Then he crafts his approach. He becomes exactly what they're looking for. I thought about Lisa. Divorced 2 years before she met Derek. Posting on Facebook about missing her mother. About helping me through grief. About family and heritage and responsibility. She'd been the perfect target. And Lisa? I asked. Was she involved from the beginning? Rebecca paused. That's complicated. From what we can tell, Derek worked on her gradually. The first year of their marriage seems legitimate. But somewhere, in year 2, he started planting ideas, suggesting you weren't managing well, pointing out minor memory lapses, building a narrative of decline. By year 3, he had her convinced that taking your assets was both necessary and justified. So she's a victim too? She's a victim who became a perpetrator, Rebecca said carefully. Yes, Derek manipulated her, but she made choices. She chose to drug you. She chose to hire the corrupt doctor. She chose to lie to you every single day. At some point, being manipulated stops being an excuse. The FBI had issued a warrant for Derek, but he was gone. Probably using one of his alternate identities. Probably in another state already. Probably targeting his next family. We'll find him, the FBI agent assured me. Men like this, they can't help themselves. They'll run the con again. And when they do, we'll be waiting. But I knew the truth. Derek was smart, careful. He'd done this successfully 3 times before. He'd probably disappear completely now that he'd been exposed. And Lisa. Lisa was left holding the bag, facing criminal charges, drowning in legal trouble, abandoned by the man who'd convinced her to destroy her own father. Part of me felt satisfaction. Another part felt only grief. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for Wednesday. Rebecca had warned me it would be difficult. I sat in the courtroom, 3 rows back from the defendant's table, and watched my daughter walk in with her attorney. She'd lost weight. Her face was pale. Her eyes were sunken. She looked broken. She saw me. Our eyes met. She started to cry. I looked away. The judge reviewed the evidence. The recordings were played in court. My voice, Derek's voice, Lisa's voice, discussing the plan to drug me, to steal from me, to institutionalize me. Lisa's attorney tried to argue entrapment, tried to claim the recordings were obtained illegally, but Rebecca shut it down. The recordings were made in my own home, by my own devices, perfectly legal. The judge listened to everything. Then she spoke. "Miss Peterson, I've been on this bench for 19 years. I've seen many cases of elder fraud, but rarely have I seen something this calculated, this cruel, and this comprehensive. You didn't just plan to steal from your father. You planned to erase him, to put him in a facility, to render him helpless while you and your co-conspirators stripped him of everything he'd built." Lisa was sobbing now. "Your Honor, please. I was manipulated. My husband, your husband is gone," the judge interrupted. "He abandoned you, and now you face the consequences of your choices, because they were your choices, Miss Peterson. You chose to participate. You chose to lie. You chose to betray the man who raised you." The judge ruled. All charges would proceed. Lisa would be arraigned on 6 felonies: conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft, elder abuse, forgery, bribery, and falsifying medical records. Bail was set at $500,000. Lisa didn't have $500,000. All her money had been joint accounts with Derek, accounts that were now frozen, accounts that Derek had probably already drained. She was led away in handcuffs. As she passed my row, she looked at me one more time. "Dad," she whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I said nothing, because sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't undo the betrayal. Sorry doesn't restore the trust that's been shattered beyond repair. Sorry is just a word, and words meant nothing anymore. That night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Peterson, this is Margaret Chen. I'm Rebecca's sister. I'm also a therapist who specializes in family trauma. Rebecca asked me to reach out. I don't need therapy. That's what everyone says. But Rebecca told me what happened, and I think maybe you need to talk to someone who isn't involved in the legal case." I almost hung up, but something in her voice, kindness without pity, made me listen. "What would we talk about?" "Grief," she said simply. "Because that's what this is. Your daughter didn't die, but you lost her anyway. And that's a kind of death that people don't know how to mourn." We talked for 2 hours that night, about Lisa, about the daughter I remembered, about the woman she'd become, about the impossible task of reconciling those 2 people in my mind. "You're allowed to love who she was and hate what she did," Margaret said. "You're allowed to grieve the relationship while pursuing justice. These things aren't contradictory. They're both true." I keep thinking, where did I go wrong? What did I miss? How did I raise a daughter capable of this? "You didn't raise her to be this," Margaret said gently. "You raised her with love and values and trust. Derek weaponized those very qualities against both of you. He found her vulnerabilities, her grief over her mother, her financial stress, her desire to please, and he exploited them. Does that excuse what she did? No, but it explains it. An explanation isn't the same as excuse. She made terrible choices. She hurt you profoundly. She deserves the legal consequences. But she's also a victim of manipulation who became a perpetrator. Both things can be true." After we hung up, I sat in the darkness and let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing. The rage, the grief, the betrayal, the love that wouldn't die no matter how much I wanted it to. I cried for the daughter I'd lost. I cried for the relationship that would never be repaired. I cried for the family we'd been before Margaret died, before Derek arrived, before everything fell apart. And when I was done crying, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not peace, not forgiveness, but acceptance. This was my reality now, and I had to learn to live in it. Thank you for staying with me through the hardest parts of this story. What happens next? It surprised even me. Because justice isn't always what you expect it to be. And sometimes, the people who hurt you most need you in ways you never imagined. Lisa's trial began 3 months later. Derek was still missing. But prosecutors had enough evidence to proceed against Lisa alone. I attended every day of the trial. Rebecca thought I shouldn't, but I needed to be there. I needed to see this through. Lisa's attorney tried everything. He painted her as a devoted daughter manipulated by a con man. He brought character witnesses who testified to her kindness, her love for me, her years of caring for her dying mother. But then Rebecca played the recordings. Lisa's voice, clear and unmistakable. It's almost too easy. He trusts me completely. Lisa's voice, laughing about drugging me, about the fake medical evaluations, about the timeline for stealing my assets. The jury heard everything. The prosecution brought Dr. Brennan to testify. She'd taken a plea deal in exchange for cooperation. She explained how Haynes' operation worked, how families would pay her to write fraudulent competency evaluations, how she'd done it dozens of times. Did Lisa Peterson know the evaluation was fraudulent? The prosecutor asked. Yes, Dr. Brennan said. She specifically requested I declare her father incompetent despite never meeting him. She paid me $5,000 in cash. Lisa's attorney tried to rehabilitate her on cross-examination, but the damage was done. I took the stand on day 4. Rebecca had prepared me, but nothing could really prepare you for looking at your daughter across a courtroom and describing how she'd planned to destroy your life. Mr. Peterson, the prosecutor asked, did you love your daughter? Yes, I still do. And did she love you? I looked at Lisa. She was crying silently. I thought she did. Maybe part of her still does. But love, real love, doesn't drug you, doesn't lie to you, doesn't plan to steal your freedom and dignity. So I don't know if what she felt was love, or if it was something else entirely. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. Lisa stood as the verdict was read. She didn't react, didn't cry, just stood there, frozen, as her attorney put a hand on her shoulder. As they led her away, she looked at me one final time. I saw the daughter I'd raised looking back at me, broken, destroyed, lost, and despite everything, despite the betrayal and the lies and the pain, I felt my heart break all over again, because she was still my daughter, and some part of me, the part that had rocked her to sleep as a baby, walked her to her first day of school, taught her to drive, that part still loved her. Even now, even after everything, the sentencing hearing was different from the trial. Quieter, more personal. The judge asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement. Rebecca had helped me prepare one, but when I stood at the podium, I put the prepared statement aside. Your Honor, 3 months ago, I sat in Frank's house and listened to my daughter discuss plans to drug me, steal from me, and lock me away in memory care. I heard her laugh about how easy it would be because I trusted her, and in that moment, I wanted her to suffer. I wanted her to pay for what she'd done. I wanted justice. I paused, looked at Lisa. She was staring at her hands. I still want justice. What she did was wrong. It was criminal. It deserves punishment. But she's still my daughter, and I can't pretend that doesn't matter. The prosecutor looked concerned, like I was about to ask for leniency, but that's not where I was going. I don't want a light sentence. I want her to face the full legal consequences of her choices, because that's what justice requires. But I also want you to know, she wasn't born evil. She was manipulated by someone who was. Derek Callahan destroyed my daughter as surely as he tried to destroy me. He found her vulnerabilities and weaponized them. He turned her love into greed and her trust into betrayal. Lisa was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "So when you sentence her, Your Honor, please remember that she's both perpetrator and victim. She made terrible choices. But she was also groomed by a professional con artist who knew exactly how to corrupt her. I'm not asking for mercy. I'm asking for understanding of the complexity of what happened here." The judge nodded slowly. Then she turned to Lisa. "Miss Peterson, do you have anything to say?" Lisa stood. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I destroyed the most important relationship in my life. I betrayed the man who raised me, who loved me, who gave me everything. I can't explain it. I can't justify it. All I can say is, I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover what I feel. And I know I can never fix this, never repair what I've broken. But Dad," she looked at me, "I love you. I always loved you. Even when I was doing those terrible things, some part of me still loved you. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to understand how I could love you and still hurt you this way." The judge sentenced her to 8 years in prison, 5 years mandatory, 3 years suspended depending on behavior. Lisa would serve her time. She would pay for what she'd done, and I would learn to live with the daughter-shaped hole in my heart. I sold the house. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I bought a smaller place across town, 2 bedrooms, nice yard, close to Frank, who'd become more family than friend. The civil lawsuit against Haynes and Brennan had settled. They'd lost everything: their licenses, their reputations, their freedom. Both were serving prison time. Derek was still missing. The FBI had leads, but he was smart. He'd disappeared before. He knew how to stay hidden. Part of me hoped they'd never find him, because if they did, I'd have to sit through another trial, relive everything again. And I was tired. So tired. Margaret Chen still called me weekly. Our therapy sessions had become something I looked forward to, a space to process everything that had happened. "Have you thought about visiting Lisa?" she asked one day. "No." "Why not?" "Because I don't know what I'd say to her." "You don't have to say anything. Sometimes presence is enough." I thought about that for weeks, months. And then, one Saturday in June, I drove to the women's correctional facility where Lisa was serving her sentence. The visiting room was stark. White walls, metal tables, guards watching. Lisa appeared in her prison uniform. She'd lost more weight. Her hair was shorter. She looked older than her 29 years. We sat across from each other, not speaking, just existing in the same space. Finally, she spoke. "You came. I came. Why?" "Because you're still my daughter, and I needed to see that you were surviving." "I am, barely, but I am." We talked for an hour. Not about what she'd done, not about the trial, just small things. The prison library she worked in, the books she was reading, the therapy she was attending, the guilt that never left her. "Dad, I know I can never make this right, but I want you to know, I'm trying to become someone who deserves your forgiveness. Even if I never get it." I reached across the table, stopped just before touching her hand. "I can't forgive you yet," I said honestly. "Maybe I never will, but I don't hate you, and that's a start." When I left the prison, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not peace, not closure, but possibility. The possibility that someday, somehow, we might find a way forward. Not back, never back, but forward. I started a foundation, the Peterson Foundation for Elder Protection, funded by the settlement money from the Haynes lawsuit, dedicated to helping elderly people avoid the kind of fraud I'd nearly fallen victim to. We provided free legal consultations. We educated families about warning signs. We trained financial advisors to recognize exploitation. We advocated for stronger laws against conservatorship fraud. Frank joined as vice president. Rebecca served on the board. Margaret led our therapy and support services. We'd helped 37 families in our first year. 37 people who'd been targeted by their own children, their own caregivers, their own trusted advisors. 37 people who now had advocates and protection. It didn't erase what happened to me, but it gave it meaning. I visited Lisa every month now. Our relationship was complicated, damaged, but slowly rebuilding, not into what it was, but into something new, something more honest. She'd enrolled in college courses through the prison education program. She was studying social work. She wanted to help people when she got out, wanted to prevent the kind of exploitation she'd participated in. I can never undo what I did, she told me during one visit, but maybe I can stop it from happening to someone else. Derek had been caught, found in Mexico using a fake passport. He was awaiting trial now. Lisa would have to testify, face him again. But she was ready. He doesn't control me anymore, she said. I made my choices. I own them. But I understand now how he manipulated me, and I won't let anyone do that again. I'd started dating someone, Sarah, a widow I'd met at a grief support group. She knew everything about my story, and she didn't run. She saw the broken pieces of me, and she stayed anyway. Life was different now, smaller in some ways, bigger in others. I'd lost a daughter but found a purpose. I'd lost trust but found wisdom. I'd lost the family I'd had but built a new family of chosen people who genuinely cared. Was I happy? I don't know. That word feels too simple for what I feel. But I was alive. I was free. I was myself. And after everything, that was enough. 2 years into Lisa's sentence, I received a letter. Not from Lisa, from Derek. He was in custody now, facing multiple charges across 4 states. But he'd taken the time to write me. The envelope had been processed through his attorney, but the words were his. Mr. Peterson, I know you have no reason to read this, even less reason to believe anything I say, but I wanted you to understand something about your daughter. Lisa never wanted to hurt you. Not really. I spent months convincing her that what we were doing was for your own good, that you were declining, that you needed protection, that we were saving you from yourself. I'm good at that. Finding the vulnerable spot in someone's armor and pressing until they break. With Lisa, it was her fear. Fear of losing you the way she lost her mother. Fear of being alone. Fear of failing to protect the people she loved. I weaponized her love for you against both of you. And I'm not sorry for what I did to you, but I am sorry for what I did to her. She was good when I met her. Genuinely good, kind, honest, loving. And I corrupted that. I turned her into someone she never wanted to be, someone she'll spend the rest of her life trying to stop being. You have every right to hate her, to never forgive her, to cut her out of your life completely. But I want you to know, the daughter you raised, she's still in there, broken, buried under guilt and shame, but still there. What she did was unforgivable, but who she is, that's worth saving. I'm writing this because I'll likely spend the rest of my life in prison. And before I do, I wanted you to know the truth. Your daughter failed you, but she loved you. Both things are true. Do with that information what you will. Derek Callahan. I read the letter 3 times. Then, I burned it. Not because I didn't believe it, but because Derek's version of the truth didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the relationship Lisa and I were building now. Slowly, carefully, without his shadow hanging over us. He'd had his time controlling our lives. Now it was our turn to decide what came next. Lisa's release date was approaching. 5 years served, 3 years suspended due to good behavior and program completion. She'd changed in prison, completed her degree, led support groups for other women who'd been manipulated into crimes, written articles about financial elder abuse for legal journals. She'd become an advocate from inside the walls, but now she'd be outside, free and terrified. Where will I go? She asked during our last visit before her release. Who will hire me? How do I rebuild a life after this? You'll stay with me, I said. Not permanently, but until you find your feet. I have a guest room, and you'll work for the foundation. We need someone who understands this crime from the inside. Someone who can speak to families about warning signs, about manipulation, about recovery. She stared at me. You'd do that? After everything? You're my daughter, and you've done the work. You've changed. You've owned your mistakes and tried to make amends. That matters. But Dad, I don't deserve. None of us deserve grace. I interrupted. But sometimes we get it anyway. This is yours. Use it well. The day Lisa walked out of prison, I was there, waiting in the parking lot, ready to take her home. She looked different, older, harder in some ways, softer in others. But her eyes were clear, no longer clouded by Derek's influence or her own self-deception. Ready? I asked. I'm terrified, she admitted. Good. Fear means you understand what you have to lose. Use it to stay honest. We drove home in comfortable silence. When we pulled into the driveway of my house, she started crying. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered. Be your daughter again. Live up to the second chance you're giving me. You don't have to be my daughter again, I said gently. You can never be that daughter again. Too much has happened. But you can be a new version. Someone who learned from terrible mistakes. Someone who uses that knowledge to help others. That daughter? I'd be proud to know her. She hugged me then. Really hugged me. And I hugged her back. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe never completely. But acceptance, understanding, and the beginning of something new. It's been 5 years since Lisa's release. 8 years since that night I listened to her plan my destruction. The foundation is thriving. We've helped over 200 families. We've changed state laws in 6 jurisdictions. We've put 11 conservatorship fraud rings out of business. And Lisa is our director of survivor outreach. She speaks at conferences. She trains social workers. She works with law enforcement to identify exploitation patterns. She's rebuilt her life, not into what it was, but into something better, something earned through hard work and genuine change. She still sees Margaret Chen weekly, still attends support groups, still carries the weight of what she did. But she's learned to carry it without letting it crush her. We have dinner once a week. We talk about work, about life, about everything except what happened. That's in the past now, acknowledged, but not dwelled upon. I remarried 2 years ago. Sarah and Lisa get along well. It's not the relationship Lisa had with her mother, but it's warm, respectful, real. Derek died in prison last year, stabbed by another inmate. The news reached us through official channels. Lisa cried when she heard. Not for him, but for the person she'd been when she loved him. For the years lost to his manipulation. Do you ever regret fighting back? She asked me once. Instead of just letting it happen? Would that have been easier? Easier? Maybe. But I would have lost myself, my dignity, my autonomy, my life. Fighting back was hard. It was painful. It destroyed our relationship for years. But it saved me. And ultimately, it saved you too. Because if I hadn't stopped you, you'd have lived with that guilt forever. You'd have become someone irredeemable. She nodded slowly. You gave me a chance to become someone else. Someone better. Even though it cost you everything. Not everything, I corrected. It cost me the daughter I had, but it gave me the daughter you are now. And honestly, I like this version better. She's honest. She's strong. She's someone who understands the cost of betrayal and chooses integrity anyway. Tonight, I'm sitting in my living room. Sarah's reading beside me. Lisa's coming for dinner tomorrow. Frank and Rebecca will be here too. My family, not the one I was born with or the one I raised, but the one I chose, the one I built from the ashes of betrayal. And it's good, really good. If you've made it this far, you might be wondering if I've forgiven Lisa completely, if our relationship is fully healed, if we've moved past what happened. The answer is complicated. I love my daughter. I'm proud of who she's become. I trust her in most ways. But there's a part of me, a deep, protected part, that will never trust her completely again, that will always remember the sound of her voice on those recordings, the casual cruelty in her laughter. And that's okay. Because forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's not pretending it never happened. It's choosing to move forward despite the pain. It's acknowledging the hurt while refusing to let it define your future. Some broken things can be repaired. Others can only be rebuilt into something new. My relationship with Lisa is the second kind. We're not father and daughter the way we were before. We're two people who share history and DNA and love, but also betrayal and pain and hard-won wisdom. We're family, but it's a different kind of family than it was. And maybe that's better, because the old relationship was built on blind trust. This new one is built on earned trust, on transparency, on both of us choosing every day to show up honestly. I still have nightmares sometimes. Dreams where I wake up in a memory care facility, Lisa visiting with that perfect smile, telling me I'm exactly where I belong. Dreams where I never found the pills, never planted the bugs, never fought back. I wake up in cold sweats. Sarah holds me, reminds me it's over, reminds me I won. But did I win? I survived. I fought back. I saved myself. I helped hundreds of others. But I lost years with my daughter. I lost the innocence of loving without question. I lost the family I thought I had. Maybe winning and losing aren't the right words. Maybe it's just surviving, adapting, learning to live in the world as it actually is, not as you wish it would be. And maybe that's enough. If you're watching this because you suspect someone in your life is planning something similar, trust your instincts. The moment you feel that cold uncertainty in your gut, pay attention. Document everything. Screenshots, recordings, photos, dates and times. Build your case before confronting anyone. Get a lawyer who specializes in elder law, not your family lawyer, not someone who knows your family, someone who's fought these cases before and won. Don't confront alone, don't give warnings, don't hope it will resolve itself. People who plan this level of betrayal, they don't stop unless you force them to stop. And here's the hardest truth. It might be someone you love. It might be your child, your spouse, your sibling. Love doesn't protect you from exploitation. Sometimes it makes you more vulnerable. If you're someone who's been manipulated into exploiting an elderly relative, like Lisa was, there's still time. Stop now. Come clean. Face the consequences. It will be hard. You might lose relationships. You might face legal trouble. But you'll keep your soul. And that matters more than money, more than inheritance, more than whatever justifications you've built to explain your actions. The foundation we built, it's still operating, still helping people. If you need resources, support, or just someone who understands, reach out. We're here. To Lisa, if you ever see this, I want you to know something. I'm proud of you. Not for who you were, but for who you chose to become after hitting rock bottom. You took the hardest path, the path of genuine change, and you walked it with courage. You're my daughter. You always will be, and I love you. To everyone else, thank you for listening. Thank you for staying with me through this entire story. I hope it helps someone. I hope it prevents even one family from going through what we went through. Be vigilant, be wise, and remember, the people who hurt you most are often the ones you'd never suspect. Trust, but verify. Always verify. If this story moved you, taught you something, or made you think differently about trust and family, please subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you're not alone. Whatever you're facing, there are people who understand, people who've survived, people who are here to help. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And stay safe out there.